Mawethu Soga, the Fixxr as is affectionately known, a seasoned product and growth strategist, driving business innovation, scaling ventures, and creating sustainable success. Welcome to TNJ Chronicles.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here. Happy to be on TNJ Chronicles. Been waiting to be a whole long time. Tando's been talking about it for ages. Really excited to tell my story today.
Thank you so much for coming. Can you tell us a bit about yourself, your career journey, and what led you to your current role at Fixxr?
Great. So born and bred, I'm in Port Elizabeth, well now known as Gqeberha, GQ. I studied there, went to high school there, and then left to come to Gauteng to work within the banking industry. Did a lot of my time there, cut my teeth there as well. But then myself and a few varsity friends decided to start a startup. Curtis, our business partner, was sitting with us in McDonald's over a cup of coffee and an egg McMuffin and said, hey guys, you keen to come build this awesome car repair and maintenance startup with me? And then, yeah, the rest is history.
Nice. What experiences have shaped your approach to commercialization and growth in both large and small organizations?
Yeah, so I think my key focus, especially within studies, was business strategy and investment strategy. So I like to look at the key drivers of revenue in a company, and then what strategy are we looking to achieve over an X number of years, and then how do the operations link to those revenue drivers, and then we lay that out over time. So I think both my studies and then corporate experience as well has probably shaped a large portion of that, and then bringing that into the startup world as head of growth and commercialization allowed me to then take those, water it down a bit, and apply it in a startup environment. So we like to focus first on, yes, getting a great value to the client, but then how do we monetize that amongst a larger set of clients, and then how do we make a profit afterwards? So we use those principles in a way that makes sense in a startup space. Yeah.
Okay. Can you please describe the strategic growth initiatives you've implemented that have significantly increased the adaptation of Fixxr services?
Yeah, so I mean, there's different things. Let me not act like it's some magic genius strategy that we came up with. A lot of the strategy came many years later in the 7-year journey. Yeah. At the beginning, it was just really a website with an Excel sheet and us just trying a few things out. Weren't focused on making money, but seeing if people would like a mechanic coming to their home or their office to be able to fix their car. A lot of the times then we were basically just giving things away. 30% of our clients come from word of mouth. We did a lot with referrals, did a lot of just telling our story and evangelizing it. But now it's more a much more modeled machine. We have paid media ads, we have referral networks as well within our process, our purchasing process as well. There's a lot more science that comes into it, but there's 3 areas that are important to Fixxr. Referrals, which I think a lot of South African businesses need to do a lot more of. Just asking clients, how did this experience go? How did you receive this product? How was it? And could you please just tell another person? Yeah. When you're a bit more mature with it, you can say, if you tell another person and they come to us, this is what we'll give you and this is what we'll give another person. But initially, even just saying, like a baker at the corner of the street, you just say, hey man, tell people about me, is actually something someone said to us, and we were like, actually, I've never asked someone to refer us. But we were lucky enough to have great support where a lot of people were doing that for us as well. 60% of Fixxr's clients are women. And I think, luckily enough, women tell other women things when they find it, where they find it the right product, etc. And we found that amongst the male clients, they like to keep things to themselves. Yeah. This is my guy, and they like to go to their guy. Yeah. While for women, they like to share. So this keen focus on building this business that was meant to demystify car repair and maintenance services while focused on women actually allows you to grow a lot further, because they're referred to 3 or 5 people without asking them. Yeah. But then we learn to just ask a bit more. Then our second thing is paid ads. Okay. The key thing is that when you're looking for car repair and maintenance services, you don't go to your app store, etc. We don't have a yellow pages book anymore. You go onto Google and you say, hey man, I need a brake pad replacement, etc. So we need to work on our search engine optimization on the website so people find very easily in terms of the keywords. And on Fixxr, what's very interesting is that our products are named not in a car repair way. So we have I hear knocking sound on my car as a product. I see smoke on the left side of my car as a product. So it's not carburetor, engine, or etc. It's the problems that you're experiencing. So customers find that a lot. And then we have paid ads to try and get them inside. And that becomes the two main parts of Fixxr, and then social media. Those are the three angles we use to really help grow the message of what we're doing.
Okay. What role does storytelling play in your strategy for driving awareness and conversion of Fixxr services?
Definitely. So storytelling is probably our main focus, and you'll be seeing a lot more of that as we go forward with what we're launching called the Car Academy. We're seeing that what is important is an ability to be able to educate clients about vehicles, and that's what our website is. It's an educational platform. You can just go sit there and read and learn, but when also you speak to us, we engage, we talk to you. Even our mechanics are very educational. You know, our lead mechanic, Takunda, a lot of our clients say, you know, Takunda will sit with you and talk to you and be like, ma'am, you know, the reason your fuel tank is needing repairs is because when your fuel lights orange, you wait and you say, I know my car.
Yeah.
But then dust is coming into the vehicle, dust is coming into the tank, and keeping your tank below 20-25% allows it to get damaged over time. So he's a person who likes to educate, and we prefer mechanics that do that. So storytelling is the entire part of Fixxr, especially that a majority of our clients are people that are not familiar with vehicles. We need to make this less scary, less confusing. So we need to engage, discuss, and tell a lot more story. In fact, we feel we don't do enough of that, but storytelling is a key part of our experience.
Okay. How does Fixxr innovate to better serve its customers, partners, and cities?
And so I think I always say innovation is a result. Innovation, doing something innovative is an adjective. We're not trying to be innovative. We're trying to solve problems. So we're looking at a particular process, how to make the steps in our website a bit shorter, how to improve on a client's particular experience. I think the best way to do that is to engage and ask customers. We were doing, one way we'll do, so for instance, I'll send out a set of surveys to clients. So maybe I was working on something to be able to understand which parts of our process or our value proposition do clients find valuable. And the one thing that started to come up was our warranty. And we were like, okay, that was strange. So it's not convenience and booking online, definitely making it mobile is great. But the warranty, the fact that there was a 6-month warranty, 10,000 kilometer was a key thing. And we're like, okay, trust is a factor. One client, and then after doing surveys, I'll then do a set of interviews with clients to understand. There's a client that said to us the strangest thing. It was like, okay, I know the service is mobile, but the way I know my vehicle has been serviced is the new smell in the car when it's washed. And we're like, what do you mean? She's like, look, I know it's stupid because when we've done fixing your car, we actually show you the parts we've taken out. Okay. So you can see these parts have been taken out and new ones have been put in your vehicle. She's like, no, man, when I come from an OEM, I come back with the smell of a washed car. So then we're like, okay, how do we do this in a mobile-friendly way? Because that smell, that feeling, that sensory perception was something important to her to say, hey, a great job was done. Yeah. So we partnered with a great company. They're also a mobile car wash company. They're a technology business. Ayanda Tladla owns it. It's a great friend of mine. And we basically started then providing coupons to say, okay, we can't wash your car right now, but we could get it later. Here's the coupon. And then when we opened our car wash, our workshop, the Fixxr workshop, we then partnered with a car wash service nearby. So we had to figure out in a way that was mobile how to solve this problem of this sensory perception. And then you see that would be considered innovative. But what you spoke to and engaged with is your client. But a lot of our innovation comes in technology. So we have our platform that engages with our parts supplier, that engages with our logistics supplier, and we have an application for mechanics. So all these systems speak to each other. You know, our mechanics get, they will see Mawethu Soga needs a brake pad replacement at said address. Our logistics provider will drop off the parts to them. The mechanic doesn't have to worry about getting the parts. They just worry on fixing the car. So the parts supplier will drop it off to the mechanic. The mechanic will arrive at the guest's house. The guest can check that the mechanic is on the way, the client. And then the mechanic can also put in what he sees in the car, etc., in the report. But then we also did some work with some Gen AI and ChatGPT so that when mechanics are putting in all the information, it automatically generates a report, which saved us a good 30, 40 minutes working and clicking on the details, because now we could just check the details and then plug them in. So another small innovation where we were just trying to think, hey man, how do we make it better for our employees? Because they were saying it takes a lot of time doing these reports. So yeah, innovation just comes from that, solving a pain point and solving a problem. And then from that, you get better and better at doing it.
Okay. In your opinion, what are the key factors that contribute to successful customer experience in the tech industry?
Well, what I think is great is something Ash Moira, who's a key scholar in the startup industry, calls creating a badass customer. So when you deliver value, it's almost like a factory where your customers going into your factory. When they come out, they're this badass individual of themselves. Almost like the Mario brother when he's small and he eats the flower and then he becomes big.
Yeah.
So you first need to be doing that, giving some form of value that makes this person better, a greater experience. When you're Airbnb and you're in a new town and you need to just find a place to stay quickly, and this person now has a greater, more affordable experience and makes their way out. When you're Uber and you're getting somewhere and then a taxi just arrives in front of you and you make your way. So with Fixxr, I mean, what was amazing in the early days, a few stories where the client who was a surgeon, and in between surgeries, were fixing their brake pad. They were taking a shower before the next surgery, and then they made their way back. So we're done. I had an accountant who was with a client. We're doing a service outside the car, did the service. By the time they're done, they just fetch their keys and go. I had a client who's a marketing exec. They had an issue with their client while they were on set, shooting an advertising thing. I think it was with Flying Fish. We came to the vehicle, dealt with the problem, gave over the keys. He was still on set. There's no point where you were leaving that particular problem. You didn't drop off your car, take an Uber, and come back. Yeah. So we're making their experience badass. We're making their lives important. We're felt, not seen, and I think that's part of being bringing a badass experience. You must just be where it matters most to the client. You mustn't have friction in the process as well. So if someone is needing a birthday cake, they shouldn't be calling you 55 times in order to get it. It's like, ma'am, sir, what do you need? How do you do it? And then they find out this small thing about yourself, and then they add it to the cake and then they give it to you, and it's like, wow, this thing is amazing. Those are the things you must do. And I mean, we'll do certain things at a time where it's give flowers on Women's Day. We work with the Johannesburg Ballet Company, so we gave ballet tickets to our clients. So always looking for nice ways. We're a car repair and maintenance company, but we don't need to make this mechanical to then surprise and delight our clients. So you must always just be working to make your clients badass.
What processes have you established to ensure timely and accurate financial and statutory reporting at Fixxr?
Yeah, so that's a big one. I mean, two of us are bankers. One of us is very strong on the enterprise development space. So when it comes to financial reporting and metrics, very important. Curtis himself is also a studied accountant. I studied financial management. So we like to be strong on that. At the beginning, it was us working on it. We generally be late with a lot of them because I'm doing growth and commercialization work, then coming back to do the financials. Curtis is working on the tech. Bulela is working on operations. Is a bit tough because you need to. Basically what we have is the bank account. Bank account is linked to Xero, which is our accounting platform. We've done a lot since then. Now we've got an accountants. It helps a lot better. So they will make sure the books are right month to month. And that happened because we grew and got greater investment. But now we even have Dext, which helps us scan invoicing and receipts that then go to the accounting system. Our CRM sends invoices from the CRM into the accounting system. So everything is linked and stay there. Then the accountants sort it through. And then month to month, they will then give us the management accounts. We then send it to our investors. So it's very important. Before we had the issue where a financial year end would come and then we're rushing to get things right. Now we're trying to make sure we're good month to month so that it's easier to understand. What's also important there, we then got to the point where we now need to start paying VAT. It's very problematic when the tax man is after you.
Yeah.
We had at a time as well where we had a large financial liability. I think we're owing about 400,000 Rand to SARS, and that's because there are things we just didn't understand in the process. But now we need to make sure every 2 months we have the VAT amount ready. So if I've made X amount of sales, I keep 15% sitting on the side, ready to give it to the tax man every 2 months. And then I've obviously got the tax I need to pay on the employees. I've got the tax I need to pay on the income I generate. So it's a lot to manage and understand. So month to month, you need to know where you sit so that you can plan your finances. Because you're going to sit there as a business and think, I have 100,000 Rand, but 30,000 Rand is meant to go to SARS, and only 70,000 Rand is for your business. So if you don't understand that, money will be running away and running out, and you won't know why.
What strategies do you employ to grow and develop your teams during periods of accelerated growth?
Yeah, I think that's tough. I mean, during accelerated growth, at the same time, you're focusing on the growth itself. And you're building while flying, all the systems are breaking at the same time. It's hard to really consider how to grow your employees. So what we have done, especially in the recent years, is built specialization and learning tracks. So sometimes you're trying to grow into a leader or you're trying to get more specialized in the role. So maybe you want to get better in sales, or maybe you want to get better in managing sales teams. Those are two different tracks. And then we'll give you stretch projects based on that. We'll also work with some educational platforms, whether it be LinkedIn or Udemy and the like. And then we also do some UNISA programs as well to add to the guys. So we mix and match based on what each person needs. But it's tough for a startup. You don't have a lot of money to work with. You don't have a lot of time to work with. So you need to also then be really tough on the guys to say, you wanted to grow in this particular era. Let's get that done in the way that's most convenient possible. But if you're not going to stick with it, then let's leave it. And maybe you just want to work, and that's okay.
Can you please share an example of a challenge you faced while leading a team through growth and how you overcame it?
Yeah, I think what's very tough was probably during, at each period of growth, it's been tough. I think at the beginning, it was a very small business that we were building. We had a time where the service, our experience was going really low. Like we have a rule now where it's like anything less than 4.8 stars, we need to reevaluate our business. So we send every single customer a review. So we're getting a point where we're getting 3 stars, 2 star, 1 stars, and a lot of complaints on Google reviews. And we literally stopped the company for 2 months. And we're like, hey, we've grown so big that it's hard to manage part supply, hard to manage mechanics, hard to manage the team. How do we do that? So we actually stopped the business for a time. I know it's not the best thing to do. Fixed everything, got better suppliers for our parts, got better systems, worked on the technology, worked on training the mechanics, etc. And then we came back, and then we were back in the 5-star space. We are 4.8 stars on Google, 4.8 stars on Hello Peter as well. Hello Peter, we're 4th in the mechanical repair category in the country. So we do a lot of work at the time to figure out how things work. But each period of growth, something breaks, and we have to sit and figure out what. I think that's the hardest challenge that we probably face.
What trends do you see shaping the future of commercialization and growth in the tech industry?
So, I mean, tech industry is really a place of principles, and it depends which philosophy or school of thought you come from. Growth right now is moving from what we call a funnel strategy to what we call a loop strategy. So funnels is what you'll normally understand in marketing, which is, awareness, consideration, purchase. A guy comes onto your platform or through paid media or through social media, says, hey, I need to buy this. You then sell it to them, and then you're done. What we're moving to now is what we call loop strategy, which is how do we build you coming back and you having a habit of using my product into the process, right? So, for instance, when I speak, let's talk about paid media, for example. Guy comes in through a paid media channel, say brake pad replacement, he sees an ad. He comes in, he purchases my product, right? The process isn't ending there. He purchases my product. I want it in my process, him to refer another person, right? So that's a loop. So someone who buys is getting someone else who buys, right? But then the person who bought, especially in Fixxr, we have a recommendation engine based on your mileage that tells you, based on the mileage that we have, at this point in time, you need a brake pad replacement. You need a service. So now the system is pulling you back, right? So we must have a plan, a loop to continuously bring you back, and not a funnel continuously for you to purchase, but a loop that builds you coming back to Fixxr as a habit. And then you also referring a client as a habit, and then him getting into the loop as a habit. So your version of sales now is not top of funnel, bottom of funnel purchase, but trigger what the client needed to do, fix a vehicle, a reward or action, vehicle gets fixed. Reward, great experience, convenience, etc. But then habit, how do I make sure he keeps coming back to that? That's why we also have the educational series, Car Academy, because now learning how to manage your car more and more will then become a habit of you caring about this thing. So that's where I think growth is quite important. In the tech industry, we speak loops now, we don't speak funnels. And then in terms of commercialization, I think profitability is now becoming a strong thing. Before, what we focus on is great value to the customer, scale, don't worry about profitability, then worry about profitability later, which I think is very hard in this time post-COVID, where funding is not as liquid. Now it's great experience for the customer, but profitability while scaling, which is a bit tougher.
Okay. How do you envision Fixxr evolving in the next few years, and what role will you play in that evolution?
No, so there's a lot of great plans for Fixxr. I mean, there's a very broad world out there with technology and with services. I think, right, for us, it's about being this managed marketplace of the future. We're looking at automated management systems. How do we understand and get more data in your vehicle? How do we plug into the data of your car? Show you that your driving patterns are not aligned to keeping your vehicle in good condition, and how do we keep that car driving for longer? How do we then provide greater services to this car owner, whether it be insurance, finance, and the like, car wash services, car repair and maintenance, engine services, car repair workshops. So we just want to be this one-stop shop for all vehicle-related maintenance. So we see ourselves as an automotive management system more than a car repair and maintenance platform. And that's where we come, where this is the only way to take care of your vehicle, is to come to Fixxr. If we can have that in everyone's mind, the way people say Google for search, they must say Fixxr for fixing cars. So we're now building this idea called the automotive management system. Then how do we build these various pieces so that no one ever has to leave this platform for anything related to their vehicle? Okay.
What motivates you in your role, and how do you maintain your passion for commercialization and growth?
I think, there's an intellectual pursuit as how do I get better at this, being the best at a particular something. But there's nothing better than working on an idea or an experiment and it becoming successful, and you did that, and you're like, great, lovely, let's try and do more. But I think what's most important is that you see a business growing, more employees, mechanics earning money, more clients being served, and then you're like, hey, I'm actually helping people. So I think that's probably been a great one. We in 2023 we won the Artisan of Mzansi of the Year award, where now we're sitting in the trade industry and we're speaking to younger people about becoming mechanics, and you're like, hey man, now you have a greater impact. This can be a source for other people getting employment, a source for inspiration for others. Yeah. So I think that's what's taking us into the next stage, is what impact can we have in South Africa and Africa and the like. But there's an intellectual pursuit, and then there's the impact on our clients, our employees, our mechanics, and obviously everyone around. Yeah.
Okay. In closing, are there any books, mentors, or resources that have profoundly influenced your professional philosophy?
Many, far too many. I think when you think original, probably business strategy, you've got old school Warren Buffett's and the like. That's where probably the pursuit of business and finance comes from. After school, I'd run back and I'm watching CNBC Africa, and I'm just sitting there. I don't know what these people are saying, but I'm like, hey man, I like what they do. And then in tech, there's many. Ash Moira is brilliant. You have to read Sean Ellis on growth hacking as well. And then there's a lot of books on OKR metrics and the like, but those are usually my Bibles. Sean Ellis on growth hacking, Ash Moira on how to build a business. He talks about building a business every 12 months. You first start by building a 10,000 Rand business. Then next year you're building a 100,000 Rand business, then building a 1,000,000 Rand business. And it helps you stress out less because you're like, I worry about the next business in the next year. And then your metrics change and how you work change. But then you also learn all of this is the same system. It's 10 customers, then 100 customers, then 1,000 customers. And then it's easier to think about building a business that way. And then a few years later, we in 2018, we're 10,000 Rand business. Now we're in the millions. But we would have never said that 6 years ago, where it's like, oh, snap. How did we go from one suburb in Randburg to servicing 4 provinces? But if you think about that, like, how am I going to get to the whole country all the time? You get very scared. So he works on the principles and very back of the envelope thing. Like I said, badass customer, monetization and scale. Okay, now profitability. Very simple ways to think about being a startup. I think if I was ever to say to someone, go read something first, it would be Ash Moira, Startup Scale Metrics. That should be your main book. And then Sean Ellis on growth hacking. And he speaks to a lot of these principles that are funnels rather than loops, is probably a good one. And then John Dewar, Metrics That Matter. He'll speak to OKRs, and that's how do you look at your business and the outcomes you need to achieve. I think for me, I carry them everywhere, even when I'm going to the airport. I've read them many times. If you read those 3 books, I think will be a great one for you to start off with.
All right. Thank you so much. That's all from us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.